So let's say you want to build a passive income in the market with dividend-paying stocks, but you don't have a clue what they are, how to select them, and which are the risks. Well, by the end of this video, you will be able to answer those questions and will be able to make more informed decisions when it comes to selecting dividend-paying stock. Therefore, let's jump into it. But let's start to introduce what dividend-paying stocks are. A company that pays out a dividend is a company that decides to distribute its profit in the form of dividend. Therefore, a dividend is a distribution of profit, either annually or quarterly, to the company shareholders in the form of cash or additional shares. However, not all companies that produce income pays out a dividend. In fact, they may decide to reinvest the income in the company, or to buy back share, or to perform M&A activities. I made a video on this point and I will put the link in the description below. Let's move on and start introducing some terms you might want to familiarize yourself with if you want to start investing in dividend-paying stocks. And the first one is dividend per share, which is basically telling you how much each shareholder is entitled to receive per share. So for instance, you might have heard the term 50 cents per share, which means that each shareholder is entitled to receive 50 cents in the form of dividend per share that he holds. It is computed as the total amount of cash dividends divided by the total amount of share outstanding a company has in the market. Another relevant term is the payout ratio, which is basically telling you how much of the total income a company has decided to pay out in the form of dividend. It is computed as dividend per share divided by earning per share. So the higher the dividend payout ratio, and the more income the company has decided to pay out in the form of dividends. And finally, the dividend yield, which is basically telling you the return you should expect out of your investment. It is computed as the dividend per share divided by the stock price of a company. It is a very important metric, the dividend yield, because this is telling you the return you should expect out of the dividend that the company decides to pay out, without including any possible capital appreciation. So to recap, so far we have learned that a company can pay out part of their income in the form of dividend, and this can provide a nice return on top of the possible stock price increase. However, there is another thing, because dividend-paying stock can also provide growth potential if the company decides to increase the percentage of income that it pays out as dividend. In fact, we have dividend kings, dividend aristocrats, and dividend growers. At the top of the ranking, we have dividend kings, which are companies that have consistently increased their dividends for 50 years. So not only they have kept their promise and kept on paying out income in the form of dividends, but they have also managed to increase the amount of net income paid out. Those are the best in class, and those are the ones that you should consider as the most reliable. Then we have the dividend aristocrats, which are companies that have consistently increased their dividends for 25 years. And finally, we have the dividend growers, which are the companies that are growing their dividends payout more than their peers and the industries. Until now, everything looks great and easy, right? Maybe too good to be true? And you might start wondering, okay, where is the catch? Well, as in every investment, also in dividend-paying stocks, there are risks. For instance, you should always remember that a dividend is never guaranteed, meaning that if things start to go sour, the management can start to cut the dividend or even not to pay dividend anymore. Another aspect to consider is the fact that you have also the stock price performance. which might completely offset, in some cases, the return stemming from the dividend that is paid out. And finally, you have the payout ratio, because some companies, in order to attract new investors, decide to pay very high dividend yield, which in some cases can exceed even the income that they are generating. Now you might be wondering, okay, but how can I screen for healthy and safe company that do not present the bill down the road? Well, I would suggest you to use this framework, which is made of 4 metrics. The first one is the payout ratio, which we have seen is the dividend per share divided by the earning per share. This is very important because the higher the payout ratio, the more earnings are paid out in the form of dividend. Which also means that if in the future things start to go sour, there are quite good chances that for high payout ratio, the company might decide to cut the dividend. Even worse is the case where you have a company that have a payout ratio greater than 100%, which means that basically the company is paying out more than the income that is able to generate. The second metric is the dividend growth rate, which is basically telling you by how much the dividend has grown throughout the years. This is very important to gauge the management reliability, because it's telling you how reliable is the management of the company when it comes to paying out dividend, but also to grow the dividend. The third metric that I would suggest to use is the free cash flow payout ratio, which is similar to the payout ratio we have seen before. The only difference is that it is computed with respect to the free cash flow. So basically you would take the dividend per share and divide it by the free cash flow per share of a company. This is very important because it's telling you how much of the free cash flow is available for the company to pay out in dividend after it has ensured that all cash has been deployed in order to sustain the growth of the business. And finally, the fourth metric that I would suggest you to use is to compare the dividend per share and the payout ratio with the one of the industry and the peers of the company, because those trends usually might influence the sustainability of the dividend going forward. So that's it for a high-level overview on dividend-paying stocks. Hopefully you have now the necessary level of knowledge to understand them, their risk, and are able to screen for safe and sustainable dividends. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel and pin the notification bell. Cheers and see you in the next video.